In all of my favorite media, one quality remains the same across them all: replay value. When you can come back to a book, show, movie, or game, and it still holds the same impact that it did when you first experienced it, that is a sign it is something truly special in my eyes. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those games that I continue to return to. No matter how many times I've beat it, or what has come out before or since its release, the world of Night City remains ingrained in me like the relic, something I can't quite get rid of, and something that will stay with me until I'm gone. Trying to quantify what makes something like this a favorite of mine might be impossible to fully express, but as a certain scumbag once said,
"Never tell me the odds."
This video was made under the assumption that you've played this game already. I'm no door-to-door salesman. I'm not here to sell you something. I'm here for entertainment purposes only, for better or worse. Do yourself a favor and play it. This game came out 5 years ago and is still streets ahead of other games coming out today, with exceptions of course. One thing I do need to make crystal clear, however: just because something is your favorite doesn't mean it is above criticism. I love Cyberpunk 2077, but that does not mean that just because I love it, that somehow means it is now exempt from any negative press. I mean, Lord knows it's had its fair share. I love Cyberpunk 2077, flaws and all, and I do intend to share what I love so much about this game, as well as my own gripes after replaying it time and time again. Also, assuming that some of you will be watching this video as second monitor content, whenever you hear this sound, it means there's contextually relevant info on the screen that I think is worth looking at the video for, in case that's how you plan on engaging with this video. With all that out of the way, strap in chooms, and welcome to Night City.
Licking gravel like a kitten, looking mangy. Paper bag floating aimless in the city. Didn't know rock bottom was so pretty. Eating cans, stretching copper like a penny. I don't need a thing when I'm drowning here without you. Little broken thing like a pigeon with a south view. I don't need a thing when I'm burning here without you. I don't need a thing, I don't need a thing. I lose myself to find you.
Night City as a setting is up there with Gotham City and Martinez as a place so unbelievably bleak that I would not want to live there even if the rent was $10 a month. However, as a video game setting though, Night City is the perfect playground for enacting vigilante justice while my body is slowly consumed by the virtual tapeworm that is BlackRock's wet dream. The main problem that I face with open world games is that most of them tend to be oceans with the shallowness of ponds. Night City is one of very few open world games that breaks the mold in this regard. This isn't like Red Dead 2 or GTA 5 where you participate in micro activities once and then call it a day.
Mr. Boss for the win here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys a full-length tennis match.
Cyberpunk is an action RPG first and an open world second. What sets Night City apart from other open worlds is how diegetic it is. Everything in the world is designed to feel as immersive and true for the player as would feel if you were actually V. Now, some of you watching this video will probably hear what I just said and say, but isn't that the point of all open world games? And to that, Kyle, I present you a copy of Horizon Zero Dawn. No detail goes unnoticed in curating an immersive player experience in Night City. Take the Kuroshi scanner for example. Most games that have a detective mode or second sense type ability are usually not designed around being practical for the character you are controlling, but rather for the player in control of said character. In Cyberpunk, Kuroshis are eye implants that allow the user to scan people and objects in the world, giving names and short descriptions of the items scanned if they are important enough to warrant them. The Kuroshis are practical for both the player as well as for your in-game character, since they are tied to the in-game cybernetic upgrades. Kuroshis work the same way for both the player and for V. There's an in-game reason as to why your scanner looks and acts the way that it does, since it's congruent with how Cyberpunk's chrome implants act on people. The little auto-translated subtitles that appear when people speak different languages in the game also feeds into how the Kuroshis fit this balance between player and character symbiosis. It allows for V to understand what other people are saying, as well as allowing for seamless player understanding as well. This level of attention to detail in what is something as inconsequential as the scanner proves to me that this game cares a lot about giving immersive experiences to the player. The ads, the car and implant brands, the city districts and sub-districts, the mega corporations, no detail was spared when building Night City. Everything in this game feeds into player immersion and creates a feeling similar to nostalgia, but for the future. Something between a yearning and anemoia. This game is also packed with some of the best radio music I've ever had the pleasure of listening to. They have been permanent staples in my playlist for years now, and I still don't get bored of listening to them. I can say that I was crying to I Really Want to Stay at Your House before it was turned into the song most associated with going to the moon and deep depression. There's a decent variety on offer from the 14 different radio stations, and for anyone that cares, here's how they stack up in my opinion. Radio Pepkek is a sleeper hit station, by the way. If you haven't been enlightened to the vibes that come from the station, look up the tracks, or better yet, play the game driving around to the station, and I can guarantee you will love it. One thing that always stuck out to me with the radio stations on this game is that there isn't like an actual oldie station. I mean, hear me out for a minute. I know that Royal Blue is technically an oldie station since it plays Miles Davis, Chet Baker, John Coltrane, like real old oldies. I mean more of like a 70s, 80s pop radio station. I mean, I know there was like the data crash event and like a bunch of shit got lost to rogue AIs or whatever behind the black wall, but you're gonna tell me with a straight face that nobody was able to save a copy of Don't Stop Believing, and even if they were saved, nobody would want to listen to it on the radio? That's nuts. Admittedly, this is a very minor nitpick in what is already a very solid lineup of songs that you can continuously listen to on or off the game, and being DMCA free on top of that makes it all the sweeter. One last thing that I don't see nearly enough people talk about is the use of slang in Cyberpunk. The slang in Cyberpunk is...
Give a chum some space.
Floored the chewing.
Zero eyes on her biomod.
Suits wet burned the eddies. I saw a corpse strip farmers of water.
I feel like such a conk.
You're the best ripper in this part of Dogtown.
Amazing. It would be one thing if only the important characters used these words, but even regular bum-ass NPCs use the slang as you walk the streets of the city. These few words of street slang the gang goons of Night City use has permanently damaged the part of my brain that processes words. Now I use this slang in everyday conversations, although I only ever use it with my close chums and not complete strangers, because that would be a total gonk move. Very few games can claim to be as immersive as 2077 is, especially upon repeat playthroughs. But does the gameplay also hold up to the same scrutiny?
There go the bag, I have a grade with the way. Whether 22 or the 38, that is 60 ways for you to die. Best to call your bitch and go get a skate. It's gone, you don't belong. Red on your face, you overdrawn. If you got my money, it wasn't a loan. I want it back, I ain't talking about jacks.
Yeah. Fuck the system, fuck Arasaka, fuck the NUSA.
Jesus Christ, B, this ain't some teenage anarchist boot camp.
In terms of core gameplay, Cyberpunk graduated from the University of Bethesda Game Studios with a master's in combat encounters. The main way that you interact with most NPCs in the game is by walking up and pressing the interact key, or by vacating their skulls with 762. Unless they are a named NPC with quest lines and a contact in your phone, they're essentially just husks waiting to meet the barrel of your gun, or in some cases, mantis blades to the chest. That being said, the core gameplay is still really fun and satisfying. All of the weapons have ridiculous audio design engraved into them, and not a single weapon sounds identical to another. Besides sounding different, guns come in 3 distinct flavors: Call of Duty, Halo, and Dark Souls Discourse. These 3 archetypes offer faint shakeups to the gameplay formula, but they're still all fun regardless. Not to mention all the melee weapon options that ask, quick and easy, or slow and painful.
Okay. Let's kill him. Let's kill this guy. Let's beat him to death with hammers.
And then there's hacking. Hacking is actually busted, and it's been that way since the game first came out. Once you reach past level 35 in the intelligence skill tree, and you have the right quick hacks equipped, you have now become God in a chrome body. Your damage can outscale any difficulty health scaling, and you can basically one-shot a full health enemy from halfway across the combat arena. Then you just watch as your quick hacks spread to every other enemy and drop like flies without needing to shoot a bullet. Speaking of
XP bars.
this game has them. 2 of them, in fact. One is super important, while the other one is highly inconsequential. The important XP bar, your main level, applies to growing your skills and attribute points. When this game first launched, the skill trees in this game weren't skill trees at all. They essentially were skill webs, where as you leveled up, you branched out into how you wanted, with major gameplay shakeups like knife throwing, or crafting legendary crafting units, given the same significance as a perk that gave you 5% more damage with pistols. There was no differentiating what perks were actually important until you hovered over them. In current day 2077, the skill tree system is an actual skill tree system, starting from the bottom and growing up as you level up, with major perks being differentiated by their size in comparison to the minor perks that surround them and give different bonuses to complement the major perks. Then there's street cred. In theory, street cred is supposed to show your rise in prominence as a mercenary in Night City. When put into practice, however, street cred is utterly useless. All it does is give you discounts at shops, but even then, the discounts are so small that you don't even notice. While street cred is useful in unlocking every fixer's gigs and unlocking some cars that you can buy, it's not something super noticeable since you'll probably be maxed out on street cred halfway through the story, and unless you're a games journalist or a completionist, you're not going to do all the gigs anyway. Something that is super noticeable though is the amount of clothing options for your character. The fashion options in this game are some of the best in gaming, period. Male and female V have both shared and differing clothing options, although if I'm being honest, female V wins out in the clothing department. Female V just wins out in just about every category, but especially in the fashion department. There's just so many better ways to accessorize female V than male V. My style of designing V just boils down to dressing her up in what looks cool to someone who owns a lot of G.I. Joe and Transformers action figures. That usually involves a lot of military helmets and vests and long sleeves. Basically turning her into a pseudo Maxstock officer and not a gag machine on the runway. Although I can sure try. As long as it looks preem, I don't care. When it comes to traversing the world, you have 3 options: the lame way, the boring way, or the fun way. 2077 really went and hid the fact that it was also another entry in the Mirror's Edge series, because holy shit can you hit some nasty movement tech in this game. That being said, unless you're super talented at it, like not me, you're pretty much locked to either driving everywhere or using fast travel. Driving is always my preferred method since you get to see how pretty the city looks while driving the equivalent of a futuristic Ferrari. Unfortunately though, most of the cars aren't worth buying at all, aside from a handful that you get from leveling up street cred or doing the new Muammar car deliveries from Phantom Liberty. But there are others that are also locked to exclusive gigs that are way easier to get, like the Megatron knockoff Rayfield Caliburn Mordred or the Yaiba Senimaru, or the iconic Quadra Turbo R VTEC. The only thing that I would love more about these cars is if they existed in real life, which they don't. And there are also bikes you can use too, but unless we're talking about Jackie's Arch or the Kusanagi, you need to get these out of my face. They're trash. I'm sorry. They're a waste of money and time to unlock when you could have all the other amazing vehicles that come from doing missions that you get for free. Disclaimer, I am a human being. If I get some information mixed up or wrong, please be kind to me in the comments. I'm fascinated by 2077's story, even if it's not for reasons you're expecting. For starters, it executes excellently on its bombastic set-piece moments, such as the Pacifica GIM infiltration, the Japantown parade, and the Black Sapphire missions. It's also just refreshing to play a video game that is willing to offer quieter, calmer moments when the story requires, which it does fairly frequently, but intentionally, especially in Phantom Liberty. This game wants you to care about the people that V interacts with, and as such, V has many heart-to-heart interactions with them as they come to terms with their lingering mortality. All that to say, while I do love this story, it relies heavily on your ability to stomach technical jargon for almost 40 hours. This is not a Metal Gear Solid amount of tech exposition, but some, not all, but some of the dialogue focuses on future tech and how it functions. So if that's something that makes you roll your eyes in frustration, that's something to think about. Another issue that I have is the false sense of urgency the game gives you. After completing Act 1, you are urged by everyone around you to get a cure for the relic as fast as possible. But unless you only do story-focused missions, it will never matter until the game makes it matter. These moments are all scripted, so they will always play out the same way every time after specific quest chains are played to completion. So no matter what, you will always have the relic-induced attacks, and you will always have the option to have a therapy session with Johnny afterwards. While I do agree this dissonance exists, the idea that this game would somehow be better if it added in mechanics for this contingency, I absolutely do not agree on. Do you know how awful the game would be if there was also an additional time limit to completing everything in the game? If I wanted to play Pikmin so badly, I would just boot up my Wii U and play it there. As much as it might add extra urgency to V's quest to rid themselves of their terminal illness, this would actively harm most players' experience with the game, mine included. This game would not be nearly as beloved or popular as it is now if it also limited all that you could do before the relic deletes you from your own body. If this game wasn't an open world game where it has hundreds of points of interest to go and explore with hundreds of different guns, outfits, and loot to collect, then maybe I could see that working. But as it is now, and how it will be until potentially Cyberpunk 2, I'm glad it is the way that it is. Over the years I've spent playing this game, I've seen several claims online that the plot is ultimately pointless and there isn't a main villain. In the cyberpunk genre, morality is often nebulous. People's actions are rarely made out of some moral code or to just do the right thing, instead done out of personal gain and self-interest. As far as 2077 is concerned, the Arasaka Corporation is heavily portrayed to be the biggest bad. I mean, the fact that they keep Adam Smasher on their payroll, you know, the guy who gave up his humanity to become a living weapon and is given free reign to cause as much collateral damage as possible with no regard for human life, that should tell you a thing or two about what kinds of acts Saburo and the Arasakas get up to. Along with Arasaka, there are many minor antagonists sprinkled in that obstruct V's goals, like Royce, Dex, Placide and the Voodoo Boys, Anders Hellman, Oda, and Kurt Hansen. But these are not main villains. These are very clearly laid out in the game as antagonists to V, but not so much the main villain like the Arasaka Corporation is. Also, if this Emperor Palpatine-ass quote doesn't scream main villain in your face, I can't help what you have. From each of the starting life paths, Arasaka is present in all three as the main antagonistic force that railroads V into the main story the game progresses to. Yes, even the Street Kid path, Mr. Fujioka is the person you are trying to steal the Rayfield from, who is also present in the bathroom of the Corpo intro. Get it twisted, Arasaka has always been the main villainous force from the start. The only caveat I would put against Arasaka being the main villain would be that their influence on the story takes a heavy backseat during the Phantom Liberty storyline to focus on the drama between Songbird, Reed, Myers, and Hansen. Although Phantom Liberty is less attached to the overall campaign of the main game and much more its own standalone story, which I kind of appreciate. It also makes sense logistically why they don't interfere, since Barghest has an Iron Maw grip on Dogtown, and the only time they ever interfere there is when Big Boss Hansen dies and they try to sway his right hand. Regardless, Arasaka has always and will always be the main villain of 2077's main campaign. Not all antagonists are villains, but all villains are antagonists. Get it twisted. As far as who my favorite character is concerned, there's really only one option that stands out in my mind.
Placide took you for pathetic gutter trash, someone who no one's ever gonna come looking for.
Felt like those words came to you awfully easy.
Well, you do look like shit right now. Grumpy motherfucker. Hope he likes surprises.
Robert John Linder, yes that is his real name, also known as Johnny Silverhand, is my absolute favorite character in this entire game, and it's not even a competition. He just has this charisma about him that endears himself to you, even if he does start out as a real dickwipe at first. The main reason why I love Johnny Boy so much is because of how much of a loser he pretends not to be. His memories are full of inconsistencies that make you question what he shows and tells you. He's still so hung up about trying to bring down Arasaka and save Alt Cunningham, an operation that he failed over 50 years ago that still haunts his conscience. His band Samurai was eventually beaten in popularity by the solo career of his own bandmate Kerry Eurodyne, not to mention the fact that his cybernetic arm was made by the same corporation that he despises, having a constant reminder of the thing that he hates literally fused to him at all times. Even the reason he's on the biochip in the first place is just to be bait for bigger fish. First being used as a guinea pig to test Soul Killer and eventually the Secure Your Soul program, to later being used as a lure on the chip to get his Netrunner, AI goddess ex-girlfriend that Netwatch wants under their payroll. Before Johnny ever met V, he was a violent, selfish, egotistical man-child that would do anything that served his ideals. But in the end, he completely failed. He didn't save Alt. He didn't topple a megacorporation. He was a martyr that failed to change anything. Except, he did save V's life. He stopped a bullet to their brain and put them through all kinds of hell to figure out how to stop it. And in the end, depending on your choices, Johnny will sacrifice his own chance at living again, allowing V their last final months before they meet their unfortunate end. Nothing will ever and can ever make me hate Johnny Silverhand.
Hey V, you alright? Listen, I realize I fucked up a lot of things. Blind, selfish bastard that I guess. You're more like me than you think. You'll see.
But it goes both ways. Maybe you're becoming more like me.
Nah, no way. Let's say it was my real grave. What would you write? Here lies Johnny Silverhand.
The guy who saved my life.
The world's fucked in the head, and you're fucked in the head because my fucked up head is inside it. Oh, you hear me? Corps have already taken the world for us. Now they're coming for us. Guess if you want to save the world, that's the first step. Get fucked in the head. Imagine we're deployed together, fighting in a war, side by side. Would you take a bullet for me?
I would. Yeah.
That's Delta. Nothing to see here after all.
Worth coming out all the same.
Absolutely. Thanks, V. Of all the heads I could have popped up in, hella glad it was yours.
In any discussion surrounding this game, the topic of a happy ending or good ending is sure to be brought up. How CD Projekt Red managed to trick people into thinking there would be a happy ending with no consequences or repercussions in a cyberpunk story either makes me the smartest person alive or everyone else was just naive enough to think a happy ending was possible. In complete candid honesty, I've never really had an issue with the lack of happy endings in the game because that's sort of the point of the genre, or at least part of the point. No matter what you try or do, V will always die. That fate is set in stone the moment Jackie slots the relic into you until Alt separates you and Johnny from yourself. What I love so much about this game's core message is that even in the most dire straits, you can still find and fight for the right people. I was on Instagram a few weeks ago and I came across this interview with some of the CD Projekt Red media and the creator of the Cyberpunk tabletop, Mike Pondsmith.
My name is Mike Pondsmith and I'm the guy who killed your Cyberpunk character.
In the interview, the CD Projekt members asked Pondsmith what the scariest part of the cyberpunk world is. Pondsmith answered that the cyberpunk world is moving towards dehumanizing people and that people have lost their sense of community with each other.
What I find is that we are moving towards a sort of a dehumanization on one side and a lot of forces that would like to have it be that way. Yet we ignore the fact that people do make community and they do make ways to unite, but they don't know that. They don't know that there's somebody on the other side aiming for the same thing they are. What I find in the cyberpunk future is that we lose all that and we buy in on the idea that it can't be changed. They talk about cyberpunk being a dystopia, but it's a dystopia with a kind of interesting version of hope. It's a dystopia where if you're willing to get out there and do what you got to do, it could work out, but you're not going to save the world. It's not really designed in that way. What you're going to do is you're going to save the people and the things you care about. You pick your targets and you fight for them. You can win those battles against mega corporations or, governments or whatever, but you're not going to do it by throwing yourself up against the wall. You're going to be more subtle about it. You're going to make alliances. You're going to choose what you can save. The thing about saving the world is that's a job for superheroes. That's a job for people who have powers beyond any comprehension. At best, in the cyberpunk world, you are a low-yield superhero who has certain abilities, but those abilities are the extension of the technology you're using. It's not about saving the world. Superheroes save the world. You're cyberpunks. You don't save the world. You save your people.
Jackie, Judy, Brendan, Panam, Saul, Mitch, Rogue, Carrie, River, Alex, Songbird. Well, maybe not that one. These are the people you fight for, and in turn, they fight for you. This is your community, your fellowship. By fighting for your people, you create community in a world dominated by individualism. You save your own world by creating a better one for your friends to live in. Encouraged further by the fact that if you take the suicide ending, you see the direct consequences of leaving the ones you love and cherish behind through their voicemail messages. Judy's especially is extremely hard to watch. This is also why most people see the star ending as one of the best endings in the game, and not just because you get to live the rest of your life with Panam, but because you leave the city behind and choose to live with the community of people that have your back to your dying breath. 2077 was never a story about trying to save the world, but about saving your world.
A thing of beauty, I know, will never fade away. What did it to me? I know. Say what you have to say, but a thing of beauty, I know, will never fade away. I'll do my duty. Who the fuck?
Keep playing.
Will never fade away.
Well, this shit took fucking forever to make. If you made it this far into the video, you might as well click that little subscribe and like button, huh? It genuinely helps out a little guy like me, and I would really appreciate all the help. And if you liked what you saw here, then maybe consider checking out some of my other videos. They're still good. Some of them are good. Not all of them are great, but they're just good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will catch you guys later. Have a wonderful day or night.